It first started with my dress and then myself. I didn't cry, so my mom and her brothers who were in the very next room couldn't hear me, right? And then when they started smelling smoke, that's when they started running around the house. And then my mom found me on the bed burning on a 70°C fire. Hi guys, Itumeleng Sekhu, and I'm here to tell you my story. So I got burned from a candle when I was 11 months old. I was sleeping on the bed, and my mom lit a candle which was on the pedestal, and then the candle then fell on the bed. It first started with my dress and then myself. I didn't cry, so my mom and her brothers who were in the very next room couldn't hear me, right? And then when they started smelling smoke, that's when they started running around the house. And then my mom found me on the bed burning on a 70°C fire. I lost my right hand, I lost 4 fingers on my left, my face is scarred, as well as the right side of my body. My brain skulls were showing, my bones were showing, and therefore I was then put in a coma for 3 months. And on my left hand there was a white glove, and literally every single day one finger would drop within that glove until I was only left with one thumb. My ear was also completely burned as well, and from being in a coma for 3 months, I was then in hospital for another 3 years, and from 11 months until I was around 15 years old, I've had a total of 104 surgeries. Yes, honey. As that thanks for her. So life for me really started when I was around 9 years old. I grew up in boarding school, but I grew up in a single parent household. So my mom, my big sister who passed away in 2003, then my older brother as well, who passed away in 2019. And then my sister, Lesego, she's still alive, and then me, and then my little sister, who is, she's 95, yeah. She was born in 1995, so like she's not 95. Yeah, so then it's just us. I grew up at boarding school, but I would go home on weekends. I feel like that at the time it wasn't ideal for me, because I had thought that my mom had sort of abandoned me, but then I realized that actually it was the best thing ever to happen to me, because now I can do every single thing myself. I'm more thankful that I went to boarding school, because then I sort of became very independent, and I feel like if I was raised at home, that my mom would have done things for me, you know, and therefore I would not have been able to do the things that I can do today, you know, which is bath myself, clothe myself, feed myself. I can even cook, darling. Yes, you know, I can do everything that anyone with 2 hands and 10 fingers can do, which is completely amazing, and that is because I went to boarding school, so there was no one to baby me. But life for me personally, as you know, started when I was 9 years old, and I was in class, and a fellow learner of mine said to me, "You're so burned, you look like a fried chicken." And I was like, what? Excuse me. You know, and as much as the time it was a joke, it actually started crushing my self-esteem to a point where I then tried to commit suicide 3 times. My first suicide attempt, I was in grade 5. My second suicide attempt, I was in 15 years old. And I tried to commit suicide with my late brother. And then my last suicide attempt, I was in grade 11, and I took 300 pills, drank them, yes, and slept, and then woke up on the very same bed. Like, why, right? No foam, no headache, no side effect from it, nothing. I was so mad. And that for me was a sign that no matter how many times I tried to kill myself, it will never happen, you know. And I then found out when I was in matric in 2007 that my suicide attempts would have never have happened because I actually have a purpose. But that purpose came after I met my husband, the Lord Jesus Christ. And he said to me that, number one, you are beautiful. Number two, you have a purpose and there's a reason why you're here. And that moment, that year, that is what changed my life. Then found out that my purpose was actually to bring hope and healing to people. And because of that purpose, I then started to heal, right? And that's when then, you know, I went to UJ, and then I studied BA in audiovisual communications. In a nutshell, it's media. Then worked within the media industry for a couple of shows on the SABC and TSTV. Then went on to radio for 4 years, worked at Metro FM. And then from there, I was now surrounded by so many celebrities, right? And they got free stuff all the time. They live on free stuff, okay? They don't buy anything, zilch. And my biggest expense at the time was my Dove soap. So then, you know, I wrote them an email, and then I said, "Hi Dove, I'm burnt and I'd like to be your brand ambassador." Can you imagine the audacity, right? And then Dove Unilever then wrote back to me a couple of months later, and then we started the self-esteem project where we went to schools motivating young, beautiful people just like yourselves. And we were motivating them on self-esteem and on purpose. And one thing that I learned from that project, it was actually there to teach me more, because that's when I found out that no matter how beautiful you are, externally we all have scars, right? And people would then come to me telling me about their stories, and you see the brokenness, you see the scars within them. And that's when I realized that actually my scars, they are more external, and every single person, they can see them, but every single person has a scar within them, right? And that scar needs to heal. That scar needs to find its purpose. And that's when I then birthed my foundation, the Itumeleng Sekhu Foundation, and we started motivating people, you know, helping people to heal from their scars, because unfortunately scars hinder you from reaching your full potential. And you might be sitting there and you're like, okay, how? You know, I'm gonna make an example. So I have one hand and I've got one finger, yes, proof, right? And I can drive myself around the world. Yes, honey. Right? But we live in South Africa and we have a population of plus minus 57 million people. And out of 57 million people, statistics say that only 12 million people have got actual driving license. 12 million out of 57 million. That is a huge fraction. And some of us know that are actually driving, that there are people on the road that still can't drive, you know. But it just shows you how many people are not reaching their full potential. Driving, for example, it's not a luxury, it's a necessity, because you need to get to places, right? So imagine how many people have limited themselves, have limited their own lives based on their scars. Another example I've got one hand and I've got one finger, and I can type 35 words per minute, right? So statistics say that because you've got 2 hands and 10 fingers, yes, you, then you should be able to type 70 words per minute if you are reaching your full potential. So then the question then becomes, are you reaching your full potential? Are you reaching your full purpose? Are you reaching your full life, right? So I'm going to make an example of like what I'm talking about. So in my second year at UJ, I went to the Randburg testing station to go and test for my license, and I was wearing a white vest, so like my hand was showing, and a blue jean with white sneakers. And then I get to the station and I'm like, I'm here to test for my license. And so now like they're all like looking at me like on some, no wait, what? You know, and then this lady then says to me, who's here? Who's a tester for her license? And then I was like, me. And the lady then like looks, you know, and she's like, you know. So now I'm like, I'm here to slay, honey, you know. So then we first started with the parkings, and then now from the parkings, now the lady's supposed to come into the car so that we can like drive around, right? So when she's supposed to climb into the car, she stands out that side hesitant, and she's like, no way, like, hey, this chick with one hand and one finger, she's gonna kill me, you know. But then because it's her job, she then climbs in, and then we drive around. And one of my weaknesses, unfortunately, it's speed, right? So then like we start driving like 40, 60, 80. Before we even got to like 90, she says, young lady, please slow down. Oh my word, you can't drive that fast. And I'm like, oh, mommy, I'm so sorry, you know. And then we get back to the Randburg station, and she literally storms out of the car, and she sits wherever she sits for a good 45 minutes. Good 45 minutes. 45 minutes later, she comes out, and then she says, well done, you have passed your license. But she says this and she's weeping, like literally. And in that moment, you know, sort of forgot like a light bulb moment where it was like, actually this wasn't about me, it was about her. Because when she saw me, right, she had already prejudged me. She had already put her limitations upon me. So when she saw me, she actually saw herself, right? And that's how projection works, that when you have got limits, that naturally you will put limits upon the next person. So now it was easier for her to do that based on the fact that I was physically limited, but I was not mentally limited, because my mindset is fully functional. And once you've made up your mind, once your mindset has sort of like functional, then your physical is bound to react to what your mindset is saying. So there is no limitations except for here in your mind. So if you have limited your mind, you will naturally limit yourself, right? So it was that lesson for me, and I felt so sorry for her, because how many people look at themselves in the mirror every single day and they are judging themselves. They have stopped dreaming again. They've stopped fulfilling their purpose. They've stopped living, right? There's a quote that a lot of people exist and very few people live. And I've like paraphrased it, but you get the point, right, honey? Yes. So with that being said, right, my then question then to you is, are you reaching your full potential? Are you in the place where you are completely satisfied with where you are in life? Considering that you've got 2 hands and you've got 10 fingers. Are you genuinely happy with what you have achieved and where you are in your life right now? One of the most important aspects of my life that worked out very well after meeting Jesus Christ is that I met this wonderful guy, very handsome, tall, dark, darling. He's got a husky voice, like he is the it, né? And it was so weird for me because one of the reasons why I tried to commit suicide when I was 15 years old was because I never thought that I would ever fall in love, right? Because of my scars, because of how I look like, and God just blessed me with one of the most handsomest man ever, you know, and he gave me twins, yes, the twin boys, Butelo and Watile, and they are, when I was pregnant, one of my prayers were, Lord, please show me how I would have looked like when I see my kids, right? And one of my sons, he sort of looks like a girl, you know. So like my thing was, Lord, thank you. I can now see how I was actually going to look like if I was not burned. But I had one of the most beautiful pregnancies ever. It was so nice. I had a very clean diet as well. I wish I could go back to that. And the pregnancy was so beautiful, you know, and God blessed me with the most cutest boys ever. God has also blessed me with 2 girls. One of them, she's my firstborn, Boipelo, and then I've got a second-born as well, Mogolo. So they both came with my husband, but they are the most amazing children ever, and my boys. So I am a family, yes honey, of a mother of 4 with a nice, tall, dark and handsome guy. And again, yes, let's take it back there. Again, I have 1 hand and I have 1 finger and I have a scarred face, but look at what God has done. Hallelujah. Going back to projection, what is it that you see when you see me? Because what you see in me is actually within you. And I'm going to repeat that for you. What is it that you see? What do you see when you see me? Because what you see in me is actually within you. I'll tell you what I see when I see me. I see a woman of strength. I see a woman of power. I see a woman of resilience, perseverance. I see a woman also who has said to herself that no matter what comes my way, I'm going to keep on standing, right? I see a fighter. Yes, honey. Ooh, I'm a fighter. I also see a woman filled with fire within her, right? To live the best life possible with only 1 hand and with only 1 finger. So now that with only 1 hand, with only 1 finger, now put your situation there, right? You are a person of power. You're a person of resilience. You're a person of this with this background. But because of the people that we are, we don't put limitations on what is possible for us, right? For example, with only one hand and with only one finger, I then wrote this book titled, What Do You See? Right? What is it that you see? What is it that you see when you look at yourself in the mirror every single day? What do you see? And remember that the things that I've said, because those things are actually within you as well. You are also just as powerful, if not more, than me. But I have not allowed my physical limitation to limit my mindset. So then why have you? Going back again to my question, are you reaching your full potential? Are you reaching your full potential? I'm 33 years old. I have one hand and I've got one finger. I have a book. I have a successful foundation where, since the lockdown has started, in partnership with their Angel Network, we have supplied over 25,000 food parcels. 25,000. Again, with only one hand and with only one finger. I have my own YouTube channel, Keto with I2. You can find it on my channel. It's called the Itumeleng Sekhu on YouTube. And I cook with only one hand and with only one finger. Again, it is also to show you guys, because I'm not a chef, I started the channel to show people what is possible, right? That this girl who only has one hand and one finger can cut things and cook. What are you waiting for? What are you doing with your life? Where are you in life? Are you reaching your full potential? Are you at the place where you actually want to be? You know, I'm launching my wine. It's called IS. Define what life is. Define what your life is, because you are new wine. You can be. You can be new wine, right? Once you've been pressed enough, once you've been cornered enough, it's only gold and diamond and new wine that can come from that pressing. So, my last words to you is, find your power. Find your power. Lao Tzu says it best, and he says, mastering others. Now that is called strength. But mastering yourself, now that is called true power. So find your power. Find your true power. Who are you? Why are you here? What is your purpose? Are you living your purpose? Are you reaching your full potential? I live for these words and these words alone. That one day when I get to heaven, that my husband, Jesus Christ, will say to me, well done, my good and faithful servant. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, there was a candle that tried to burn me. This candle tried to ruin me. But that very same candle lives within me. And that candle is shining bright right now. So allow your candle to shine bright. Thank you. Hi guys, Itumeleng Sekhu, and I have been through the most.